Welcome to the Akashic Musings podcast. My name is Laura Mazzata, and I will be your guide during this sacred experience. I'm an Akashic healer and teacher, and have also been a therapist for almost 20 years. This podcast is your go-to opportunity for all things healing, inspiration, and empowerment. I will be sharing potent wisdom from divine intelligence in the space of the Akashic Records. For more understanding of what the Akashic Records are, I encourage you to listen to episode 1 or head over to my website at www.theakashictherapist.com. I'm so grateful to have you here, receiving the powerful energetic shifts that radiate through these messages. Just by listening in, you're doing your part to raise the vibration of the planet and fully realize our natural state of wellness and vitality. Without further ado, here's today's episode. So I want to talk about this concept of intimacy and how I've truly never felt the level of intimacy that I have with spirit and deep Akashic immersion with another human being. And that can leave me sometimes feeling lonely, and it can leave me sometimes feeling like, what am I missing here, right? But the fact is, there's a couple awarenesses that have come forward that are very real and very clear. And that is this. When we are connecting to infinite energy, when we are connecting to spiritual energy, there's no level of intimacy that can be matched on this planet that we have access to in spiritual form. The beauty here is that we get to feel it in sensation, and we don't necessarily feel that when we're in spiritual form only. And so, there aren't descriptors for this in the universe at large. We only have language for this and sensation around it and aching around it in human form. That doesn't exist in spiritual form. And so we end up wrestling with it and feeling almost tortured by it to a degree, because it's like a desire, that level of intimacy. And really what you're doing is you're tasting something that you appreciate and love so much that you want more of it. It's this craving for God. It's this craving for source energy. And anyone who has been following the spiritual path for a long time or really, really connected to source understands this concept of craving. In fact, it's in a lot of Christian music, this craving we have for God. And we distort that and think that we're craving a level of intimacy with people on this planet, where actually, if we can actualize that level of intimacy with ourselves and our souls, the intimacy that we feel on this planet is going to feel so much more expansive and easier and require less effort, and it's going to be so aligned. Because we're anchoring in an intimacy that is not sourced from the 3D. We're anchoring in an intimacy that is sourced from infinite love, divine love, the highest vibration of all things. And that can almost feel crazy making for the human, because it's just like, oh my gosh, it reminds me of this song by Lauren Daigle. There's Love Like This and How Can It Be? And both of those songs remind me of this concept of like, how can it be that I'm loved this much? Like, how can it be like that I can experience and receive a love like this? It's almost like otherworldly, and it almost makes you feel like, do I even deserve this, right? Like this feeling of deserving around like, how do I hold all of this? Like, oh my gosh, this is so big, And then we are trying to make sense of it. We don't understand it. And so we're like clamoring for, where can I access this on this planet? Where can I ground this? Where can I anchor this into human form, right? And you're really meant to anchor this into your own human form. You're meant to anchor this intimacy into a relationship with your own soul, relationship with your own aloneness. And this process of inquiry around intimacy started probably 6 to 8 months ago, when I was going through a period where I felt lonely, and almost everyone around me, including my clients, my loved ones, my family members, were feeling the same sense of loneliness. And I tuned into the Akashic Records around this, and I was asking for guidance around the intention around this energy. Like, what's this about? Why is this presenting in our field right now? And really, what it was about and what it is about is, when you find that you're looking for anything in this world, whether it's freedom, intimacy, whatever you call it, and you go to all of these 3D doors to access that freedom or access that intimacy, and you find that they're not offering you the depth and the richness that you can taste, and is available to you, and it's like none of it's feeling like enough. It's because these doors are closing on you. These doors are not fully fulfilling you because you are meant to turn towards God. You are meant to turn towards Source. You are meant to turn towards yourself. You're looking for satisfaction in what's outside of you rather than looking for satisfaction within you, within the spirit within you, within that relationship with God. And as you maximize that, as you deeply immerse in that, as you feel that with every cell of your being and continue to return to it, no matter how desperate you are, to reach out to that person that you can't stop thinking about, to connect with that person that you know has the potential to offer you the level of intimacy that you desire, but just doesn't choose to actualize it. Instead of doing all of these things, or we do those things and then we feel disappointed or frustrated, it's this continual return to, no, you are meant to find this within yourself. You have this within yourself. This vibration exists within you at all times. This is here for you. This is always here for you. This is your anchor. This is where you are meant to ground, right? You are meant to ground in spirit. And when you surrender to that and you actualize that, the wild thing is that the intimacy, the freedom, all of those things show up with ease. They show up naturally. And so it's funny because one of the concepts that's come forward around this intimacy piece is like, well, does this mean that I'm just then settling with human relationships in my life? Like, am I just settling with human relationships in my life because I'm not a settler, right? And don't get me wrong, I hear you. Like, I am not one to settle. I do not settle because I believe in infinite possibility, because I believe that there's billions of people on this planet and there's always going to be someone out there that is going to very, 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 very closely replicate what you feel at an intimate level within. But are you meant to actualize that relationship in this lifetime? That is not something that we get to decide. That is something that is decided by our soul and decided by Source. The best way for you to get close enough to access that is to align as closely as you can with the frequency of your soul. Aligning, don't settle for human life. Don't settle for just what's available in the 3D. Continue to hold your possibility that anything is possible and anything can show up at the same time that you surrender the outcome of having to have it in order to feel complete, or in order to feel this level of intimacy or freedom or whatever it is that you deeply desire. Okay? We can hold this belief in infinite possibility at the same time that we fully actualize this aligned frequency with our soul, continually returning to it. And sometimes that means that we spend a ton of time alone. Sometimes that means that we need to prioritize this over anything else in our life, right? And sit with, wow, right now I'm in a season where all I want to do is sit with spirit. What if I don't connect with people that much? So what? Who gives a shit? What if you don't? Guess what? When you come back from this period of time, you are going to feel so much more centered and so much more lovingly connected to everyone around you. And you're not going to feel this need to search for it, or to go through it in your mind, or to be preoccupied with it, or to ponder it, or to constantly be struggling with it, or going back and forth with how you feel in your emotional world, because your emotional world is centered, it is stable, it is anchored. And we actually avoid this work. We avoid this turning toward spirit. And we kind of kick the can down the road by making it about other people, or making it about something that we haven't figured out yet, or that we need to access, or whatever. And really, it all comes back to the same damn thing. It all comes back to, No, all of these situations are arising in your life to point you back to yourself, to point you back to spirit, to point you back to that level of deep intimacy. It's like, I remember when I got to a certain point in my journey, and I was just like, dude, if I'm bitching about not having the level of intimacy that I desire in my life right now, and I know that the deepest level of intimacy I have ever felt is in deep immersion with the Akash, why the hell am I not doing that every single day of my life? Why am I not giving myself deep immersion, right? So it's like holding yourself accountable for realizing that the universe is holding you accountable to turn back towards your spirit by giving you opportunities to feel disappointed, to feel like you can't access that, to feel like you're just one step further, to feel like you're frustrated with humans, right? So that you can continue to return to your true anchor point, because that is what's sustainable. That's what's going to carry you through anything that comes at you from the human world. And you're going to realize that you're going to be so much more unshakable, so much more unwavering. And honestly, this human intimacy shit is going to feel silly and it's going to feel irrelevant because you are so consistently, sustainably grounded and anchored in exactly who you are and what your soul desires. And you're going to access that every single day of your life at will because you have cultivated a relationship with spirit. So the ultimate message here is get out of your head and stop kicking the can down the road and making it about all of the 3D things. Trust that everything that's showing up in your world is actually an energetic gift from source to activate you emotionally so that you remember to return to who you are at the core, so that you remember to align with your true essence and embody that more fully and take full responsibility for showing up in the wholeness of who you are in this moment. And that wholeness will be defined differently tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because we're all energy and we are always changing, we are always evolving. But you can't know that you are showing up in the wholeness of who you are if you are not anchored in the essence of who you are. Because that is going to be your stability as all these different parts of you continue to integrate. So, thanks for listening. I love deep diving into these concepts and getting a deeper understanding of how spiritual energy works through us and shows up in the human and can really make us feel like we're losing our minds a lot of the time. And I have to say, if you're in a relationship right now where you are feeling unsettled, where you are feeling dissatisfied, what I have to say to you is this: focus on yourself first. Focus on building your relationship with Source first before you evaluate this relationship, because there's nothing wrong with the other person and there's nothing wrong with you. You both get to be exactly who you are. And so the more true you are to living in alignment with yourself and really owning your sovereignty and being you and showing up as you are, the more they have the freedom and flexibility to do the same for themselves. And you will then know, as you both stand in your own sovereignty, as you're both in full, true alignment to your own essence, you will know whether you are meant to continue to remain in this human relationship or if that contract feels complete for the time being. So it's okay for you to temporarily feel unsettled. It's okay for you to temporarily feel lonely, to temporarily feel this lack of intimacy or lack of freedom. It's okay for you to feel that. At the same time that you hold infinite possibility in the fact that anything can happen when you align as closely as you can with your true essence and source energy. Okay? This relationship could go, this person that you're with could change entirely, and they could also not, right? And so it's holding that possibility and that faith at the same time that you are focusing on deepening your intimacy with yourself. So reach out to me if you have any questions on this. I also love customizing this kind of energetic work based on exactly what's coming up for you and what's going on in your life. And I have a program called Vitality that does that. So reach out, we can chat, we can jump on a Zoom, you can get to know me a little bit if you want, and we can see what's a good fit for you. But either way, I really appreciate you listening to this podcast, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Akashic Musings podcast. I'm so grateful you're taking the time to integrate healing at the deepest level. If you loved this episode, connect with me on Instagram at Emerge Healing and Wellness, or contact me through my website at www.theakashictherapist.com. I'll see you next week on the next episode of the Akashic Musings podcast. Bye for now, and have a wonderful week.